Hello, we are going to simplify rational expressions. So we want to simplify this rational expression, 2x squared minus 20x over 3x squared minus 35x plus 50. So what we want to do first is, if you ever get a simplifying problem like this, if anything can be factored, we need to factor that first before we can start simplifying. So I'm looking at the numerator, and I can factor out a 2x, goes into both of those terms. So I'm going to factor out a 2x. I'm looking for a GCF, and then I would have x minus 10 left. For the denominator, I'm thinking of a GCF. I'm trying to think of a GCF, a number that goes into 3 and 35 and 50. And there is no number. There's nothing in common with those values. So we can't factor out a GCF. But this is a quadratic. I'm going to factor the quadratic, so we end up with two binomials that multiply together to get that quadratic. This is A, B, C. I put A times C on the top, so 3 times 50 is 150. And then we put B on the bottom, negative 35. So now I'm trying to think of two numbers that multiply to get 150 and add to get negative 35. Let's see, I just did 3 times 50. Those multiply to get 150, but there's no way to add those to get 135. 2 times 75, no. So I'm just kind of trying to list things that multiply together to get 150. 6 times 25. That doesn't work. There's no way to add those to get 35. 5 times 30, those we can add. We can multiply 5 times 30 to get 150, but if we make them both negative, we still get positive 150 when we multiply them, and when we add them, we get negative 35. Okay, so then I can go to the area model. We put the first term, so we're trying to factor this, 3x squared minus 35 plus 50. We put the first term in the first box, and the last term in the last box, and then we use these numbers that we just came up with here, put these in the other boxes, negative 5x and negative 30x. So then we're looking at the rows and columns. So if I look at this first column, and I'm trying to think of what I can factor out of 3x squared and negative 5x. I can factor out just x. They have an x in common. If I look at the next column, and I'm trying to think of what I can factor out of negative 30x and 50, they have a 10 in common. And then I'm going to look at the top row. I can factor out a 3x, and the bottom row I can factor out a negative 5. This is actually kind of one of those weird ones where we actually need this to be a negative 10, because we want negative 10 times negative 5 to give me the positive 50 in this last box. And then I'm just double checking all the rest to make sure it all multiplies together correctly. So for example, x times 3x, that's 3x squared. Negative 10 times 3x, we get negative 30x. X times negative 5, and we get negative 5x. And then I already checked negative 10 times negative 5, positive 50. So I'm just making sure that everything works out and that I am correct. So now I'm going to do these are my factors, 3x minus 5 and x minus 10. Okay, so once everything is factored, we can simplify common factors. So for example, x minus 10 is in the numerator. That's a factor in the numerator. I'm seeing the same exact factor in the denominator, x minus 10. X minus 10 divided by x minus 10 is just 1. It's kind of like they cancel out. I'm looking for anything else that's the same exact factor in the numerator and denominator. In the numerator, I have a 2x. There's not a 2x in the denominator, so there's nothing I could cancel that out with. And in the denominator, I have a factor of 3x minus 5. There's not the same exact factor in the numerator that'll cancel out with it. So nothing else can be simplified. What I have left is 2x over 3x minus 5.